Hi, I'm Paula Renova, founder of Renova Enterprises and creator of the Cardinal Method of Life Connection. And today we're going to talk about how our spiritual growth or our spiritual evolution is a spiraling process. We evolve, we go upward in a spiral process, so it's not linear. And we face the same challenges over and over again until we learn what we need to learn. So today, these two stones were jumping out of the shelf, and I decided to bring them in and tell you a little bit about them. Malachite and amethyst. These are both stones of transmutation, meaning they encourage us to create alchemy in our souls. So we take responsibility for the weight or the lead that we carry in our bodies and souls and minds and hearts, and we transmute them into gold. So the same energy can become something else if we commit to this process of self-connection and personal growth and spiritual growth, if you will. So one of the things that I noticed in this path, which is specifically what I want to highlight today, is that the inner child and the ego are the ones that create obstacles for our spiritual growth or personal growth. So the inner child is actually balanced by a healthy ego. In my opinion, we don't want to get rid of the ego. We want to integrate our aspects of the psyche. As human beings, we have specific reasons to have an ego, which on a healthy sense means we are adults, we engage in maturity, we get out of Peter Pan mode. We don't want to be children for the rest of our lives, right? So the more we develop a healthy ego, the more the inner child is put in its specific place, the right place and the right size in our psyches. We don't want these aspects to get out of proportion. So observe yourself and see if you want to be loved all the time, if you're doing things to be loved, because that's wounded inner child mode. You want to have a healthy inner child. And the ego is a controlling aspect when it's out of balance. So it wants to control everything. It wants to have power over all circumstances and situations. And what I believe brings the ego to balance and puts the ego in the right place and size in our psyches and lives in the right proportion is a spiritual connection, is the higher self, is God within. Now, if you're not a spiritual person and you think that this sounds religious, and you don't like that kind of vibration or that kind of path, just think of the higher self or God within as virtues, as moral virtues, as virtues you admire in people: generosity, compassion, anything that brings joy to your life by being in a state of peace and creating a wonderful life from within and seeing others and not just yourself. So the inner child and the ego are very selfish, but when they're balanced, they create a good boundary between the individuality and being in the world and serving humanity and being in a good place, observing and connecting to reality. Because the wounded inner child and the out of control ego live in a parallel universe. So the more you connect to life, and that's why it's the Cardinal Method of Life Connection, the more abundant and fulfilling your life will be. And part of the journey is self-connection, observing the traits that you have that you wish to transmute, such as a wounded, needy inner child or an overpowerful, controlling ego, to name a few. And know that you will keep coming back to the same circumstances until you see and observe yourself and why you're creating that and why you're attracting that. And finally, when you see it in yourself, you're able to transmute that energy. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. If you feel like someone needs to hear this, please share this video. Please comment below. I would love to hear your journey with your aspects of the psyche and being very truthful to yourself. Just jot down, make a little list. Which aspects of myself do I acknowledge that need to change and heal? Sometimes we have blind spots. It takes time. But the more you do it, the less the spiral will be intense until you can get rid of specific energies and traits in your psyche and character, the distortions, as I like to call it. Living from a natural, wonderful place from within, which is your real self and your higher self, living from the heart. So thank you again, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.